There are lots of old buildings in Maine that have just disappeared. The beautiful old train stations in Bangor and Portland, for example. Some other things that may have once been landmarks or maybe just tourist attractions, but one of those is making kind of a comeback. 207's Don Kerrigan is here with an unusual story. Hey, Don.
It is unusual. So you can put this in the category of, I would never expect to see that, or I've never heard of that. But people in Mid-Coast Maine of a certain age and some others will remember a time when Wiscasset was home to what we were told then was the smallest church in the world.
Ready to go green, here we come.
It's a small town track with big time excitement. Every weekend in the season, race fans pack into the Wiscasset Speedway to cheer their favorite drivers. But this year, those fans are seeing something they might not expect. A church. That's right, a tiny church at the racetrack. And how it got here is a story of racing, family, and some Wiscasset history.
Richard and I talked about this years and years ago. And it just never happened. And then Edna Verney got on Richard's case about it and said, we need to get this done.
You could marry a couple in here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. Former racer and carpenter Bill Pierce built the church for the track's owners, Richard and Vanessa Jordan. The idea, says Bill, came from Richard's aunt, Edna Verney, because she remembered Wiscasset's first tiny church. This one, built in 1958 by Reverend Lewis West, who called it the Union Church, and famous for a time as the smallest church in the world.
This little church, my grandmother was really fascinated with it, and she unfortunately passed in December of 23, and now this little church is dedicated to her.
We'll let Edna's granddaughter, Paige Verney, tell that story.
And the reason why he built it was because he was involved with big churches for over 4 decades. And he retired up here from Boston. And he just wanted to feel connected to God's work. And that's why he built it.
That church was only 7 feet long by 4.5 feet wide. And Paige says it didn't even have a door.
What was it that she was fascinated by?
I think because it was just peculiar, and it's not something that you'd really see out of the ordinary, I guess. And it was kind of like a landmark because, thousands of people came to see this church.
There were even postcards of the tiny church. But there was also vandalism that did a great deal of damage. Now, on the corner of Clark's Point Road and Route 218, there is nothing left but what looks to be the church's old stone foundation. Which brings us back to the racetrack. Edna Verney had connections of her own here, winning what they used to call the Powder Puff Derby at the track back in 1969. And when her nephew Richard bought the place, she kept urging him to build a replica of the old church.
She had pictures of it, she had the dimensions of it, and she even had someone in mind to even build it, and that was Bill Pierce.
Bill had to do some figuring to make it just right.
One picture had clapboards on the side, and I just counted the rows of clapboards and 4 inches to the weather and came up with a height.
So that gave you the height of the building?
That gave me the height of the building.
They brought the new church to this spot, just below the old cemetery that stands above the racetrack.
So what do you think?
I love it. I think it's great. It fits the racetrack perfectly where it's sitting, and It's awesome.
And
good tribute.
Sadly, Edna Verney wasn't here to see the new church. She passed away in the winter.
It's a cute little building. I love it.
But granddaughter Paige Verney, who also used to race, is sure Edna would be happy.
I'm sad that she couldn't be here to see her dream fulfilled, but I know that she'd be pleased, and we miss you, Mammy.
She says the church is always open, and they hope people will use it, maybe for quiet thought, or maybe even for a wedding. And besides the roar of the racetrack, this new church has something the old one did not. Inside, to greet all who enter, is Edna's picture, a reminder of the history and the family ties that brought Maine's smallest church back to town.
Now, Paige Verney tells us that at one point, the Guinness Book of World Records listed that original church as, what they said, the smallest church in the world. Of course, it's gone, so it can't have that status anymore. The current smallest church in the world is one way smaller than that, and it's in Spain. So, but this church is there at the racetrack. You can go and see it, and maybe if you've got nuptials coming up, maybe you could even get married in that church. No room for anybody other than the minister, but there you go.
You know, I have a feeling people probably will use that to get married, and
Maybe
Edna
so.
will be there. I love that.
All right.
Thanks, Dawn.